So continuing the narrative. The women arrived jubilant with a plump little baby wrapped in plain linens. It is Mary, the mother, a very tiny Mary who could sleep in the arms of a child. A Mary as long at most as an arm, with a little head of ivory dyed pale pink. Her tiny carmine lips no longer cry, but are set in the instinctive act of sucking. They are so small that one cannot understand how they will be able to take a teat. Her pretty little nose is between two tiny round cheeks. And when they get her to open her eyes, by teasing her, they see two small parts of the sky, two innocent blue points that look but cannot see between thin, fair eyelashes. Also, her hair on her little round head is a pinkish blonde, like the colour of certain honeys which are almost white. Her ears are two small shells, transparent, perfect. Her tiny hands, what are those two little things groping in the air and ending up in her mouth? Closed as they are now, they are two rosebuds that split the green of their sepals and show their silk within. When they're open, as now, they are two ivory jewels made of pink ivory and alabaster, with 5 pale garnets as nails. How will those two tiny hands be able to dry so many tears? And her little feet, where are they? For the time being, they're just kicking, hidden in the linens. But now, the relative sits down and uncovers her. Oh, the little feet. They're about 4 centimetres long. Each sole is a coral shell with a snow-white top veined in blue. Her toes are masterpieces of Lilliputian sculpture. They too are crowned with small scales of pale garnet. But where will they find small sandals when those little feet of a doll will take their first steps? Sandals small enough to fit such tiny feet. And how will those little feet be able to go such a long way and bear so much pain under the cross? But that for the time being is not known, and the onlookers smile and laugh at her kicking, at her well-shaped legs, at her minute plumpish thighs that form dimples and rings, at her little tummy, a cup turned upside down, at her tiny perfect chest. Under the skin of her breast, as soft as fine silk, the movement of her breathing can be seen, and the beating of her little heart can be heard, if, as her happy father is doing now, one lays one's lips there for a kiss. This is the most beautiful little heart the world will ever know, the only immaculate heart of a human being. And her back. They are now turning her over, and they can see the curve of her kidneys, and then the plump shoulders, and the pink nape of her neck, which is so strong that the little head lifts itself up on the arch of the minute vertebrae. It looks like the little head of a bird that scans the new world that it views. She, the pure and chaste one, protests with a little cry at being thus exposed to the eyes of so many. She, entirely virgin, the holy and immaculate, whom no man will ever see nude again, protests. Cover, do cover this bud of a lily, which will never be opened on earth, and which, still remaining a bud, will bear its flower, even more beautiful than herself. Only in heaven, the lily of the trine Lord will open all its petals. Because up there, the trine God is to be received in the presence of the whole Empyrean. The trine God that within a few years, hidden in a faultless heart, will be in her, Father, Son, Spouse. Here she is again, in her linens, in the arms of her earthly Father whom she resembles. Not at the moment. Now she's just a little human baby. I mean that she will be like him when she's grown into a woman. She has nothing of her mother. She has her father's colour of complexion and eyes, and certainly also his hair. His hair is now white. When he was young, it was certainly fair, as one can tell from his eyebrows. She has her father's features, made more perfect and gentle being a woman. But that special woman. She has also the smile, the glance, the way of moving and height of her Father. Thinking of Jesus as I see him, I find Anne has given her height to her grandson, and her deep ivory colour to his skin. Mary instead has not the stateliness of her mother, a tall and supple palm tree, but she has the kindness of her Father. Just pause there. That's quite interesting. That Mary gets her looks, her physical aspect from St. Joachim, not from her mother. But Jesus gets something of his looks from St. Anne, his grandmother. Continuing now. Also, the women are speaking of the storm and the unusual state of the moon, of the presence of the star and the rainbow. Along with Joachim, they enter the happy mother's room and give her her baby. Anne smiles at one of her thoughts. She is the star, she says. Her sign is in heaven. Mary, Arch of Peace. Mary, my star. Mary, pure moon. Mary, our pearl. Are you calling her Mary? Yes, Mary, star and pearl, and light and peace. But it also means bitterness. Are you not afraid of bringing her misfortune? God is with her. She belongs to him before she existed. He will lead her along his ways, and all bitterness will turn into heavenly honey. Now be of your mummy for a little longer before being all of God. And the vision ends on the first sleep of Anne, a mother, and Mary, an infant.